Ooh, yes. Burgundy Lion. Glad to see that place is still open. Great little British style pub, and one of the best whiskey selections I'm ever going to see that kind of gets close to what In Noir has, if you remember my last video. I'm walking to you around here in Little Burgundy on Notre Dame Street, because I'm going to be going to the Atwater Market to get me some sausages. And I want some specific Cajun sausages, because today we're going to be going Creole on the Wanarayuki Cheese Cafe. Ooh, not too bad at all. Welcome to another edition of the Wanarayuki Cheese Cafe, and I'm gonna admit, that was actually my first time going to the Atwater Market. I passed by there on a couple of trips from time to time, but I realized I never stepped in, and I went there because I needed a particular sausage for the recipe I'm gonna be doing today. Today I'm gonna be whipping up a Jambalaya. So, if you've been following me for a little while and you remembered my video when I was on Crescent Street, when I was doing my little pub crawl, one of the things I highlighted was at Winnie's, where the meal that I had for supper was a plate of jambalaya. And it was there that I got introduced to it first with a couple of friends. So one of the things that usually happens to me when I go to a restaurant or a bar and I try a meal is I always end up asking myself, this is good. How can I make this at home? And lo and behold, I was able to make it. Had a few people over years ago, and turns out it was amazing. So I figured if I'm going to do this properly, and I'll explain the properly thing in a second, why don't we show you from start to finish how to do this. You're just going to need a lot of vegetables, around an hour of prep time and cooking, and then you're good to go. So let's just refuel ourselves. Yep, once again it's a beauty. Oh, hold on. Where are my manners? I forgot to highlight my brew over here. It's a really nice golden hoppy one, and you know what? It's one of those things. Had to clear my throat for a second. So it's one of those things where you drink it and you're going to say to yourself, well, Jesus Christ. And before those of you want to throw stones at me for being sacrilegious, I'm not even being sacrilegious. Take a look. That is actually the name of the brew. Jesus Crisp India Pale Lager from Avant-Garde. Really starting to like their servings over here too. But yeah, if you're gonna say anyone is sacrilegious, it ain't me. Blame these guys, because take a look at the image over here. Somehow instead of a sacred heart, it's a sacred hop on this. It's kind of funny for me. And no, I'm not gonna have devils like going after me, or people are gonna be punishing me, sending me down. I came prepared. I've got me an emergency jar of holy water, just in case. That'll repel all the evil spirits over here. Alright. Cheesy jokes aside, let's get started on our meal. Alright, so just like any meal that you prepare that involves a lot of vegetables, The part that's going to be the most tedious is definitely going to be chopping them up. But once you get that out of the way, it's actually pretty straightforward. First thing you're going to need to do is get a few stalks of celery. I've seen recipes where they say you need only about 2 ribs of celery, but frankly I feel like it's kind of low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a third one, and then I'm just going to slice them up into, let's say, 1/4-inch slices of it, and then I'm going to keep them aside. Actually, there. In case you need to see exactly how to slice celery, that's one way of doing it. Typical chef's knife, nice all-around knife. But if you wanted to speed up the process, here's what you could do as well. So yeah, chef's knife, a nice all-around knife. This thing is really good if you want to do any cutting or mincing, and then it has a little bit of a curve right at the end here. So the idea, if you can watch, is if you slice the things up, you just go up and down along the curve so that this part of the blade is going to make contact with your meat, your vegetable, or whatever else you're slicing up. For cooking, any other slice you do outside of the kitchen, I don't need to know about. But what I like to use sometimes is this slicing knife. You'll notice the big difference here is it does have a curve, but it's actually got a longer blade that's straight. So what you'd want to do with this, well, let's just move this over, is you simply want to line up all your pieces of celery. Then what this will do, you could go straight instead of at an angle, and then you can cut all 3 stalks of celery at the same time. And that's really going to minimize your effort and minimize your labor too. Keep going with that until all your celery is sliced up. And again, you want to go for around 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch, just in case. And that's not exactly an exact science. It's like I said, the recipe I found will call for 2 stalks of celery, but I put a 3rd one, because there's nothing wrong with having more vegetables than not enough. All it means, you get more vitamins per serving, and it puts hair on your chest. I can attest to that, people, trust me. And now that you have all of your celery chopped up, you just get another bowl, like a big mixing bowl here, throw it all in, and then you can keep this aside for a little bit later. Oops, lost a piece. Then, what you could do is you're going to grab 3 bell peppers. One thing I saw that kind of makes sense is you can get 1 of each. You get like red, orange, and a yellow one, just to give it a little bit of color and it's not all bland and monotonous. You got to diversify your colors. So that you're also going to chop up too. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to cut around the core at the top to make that a bit easier for me. All right. And once you have that done, you just have to cut this up into smaller pieces, very similar to what you did with the celery. Don't worry if you have any seeds still in there. It's not the end of the world. So once that's done, you just take your slicing knife, make a cut here, and then you start cutting around smaller slices like this. And once you do that, cut it up and chew it. And then you keep repeating that for all of your peppers. So you probably noticed too that I'm putting the peppers in the same bowl that I had the celery. This is just a little way to make things a little bit easier, and I'm going to get to that in a second once we move on to the actual cooking. But one thing you're going to know about jambalaya is that it does have a bit of a kick and a bit of spice. One of the things you do with that is take 1 jalapeno pepper. So I'm just going to get this sliced up. Took a little while to slice. I actually had to pull this one out of the freezer. This year I didn't get too many jalapenos in my garden, but last year I got such a really good yield, something around at least a dozen peppers, but I ended up freezing them. They're probably secure. Yeah, the steak is kind of soft, but it's not spoiled. Just means that it might be a little bit harder to cut, but it's not the end of the world. So what you want to do then, you just want to slice this up and then dice it into smaller pieces. Some recipes I've seen say that you should seed it, meaning take all the seeds out. Personally, I'm going to keep them in because that just means I'm going to get a little bit of extra spice in here. Ooh, yeah, and I'm kind of smelling that right now, but it's all good. And if you're one of those people that has a really good tolerance for spice and you want a little bit more, I guess what I could suggest is, let me put it this way. I think what I should suggest is that you could even do a second jalapeno if you want to, and then you're going to get enough spice with it. So now that I got that there, we're going to get to the next step. There we go. One white onion, ready to slice up to into smaller pieces. I knew having that onion on my belt would come in handy eventually, not just for being the style of the time. So just get these ends off. This is actually a smaller onion than I'm accustomed to, but I do have a backup plan if I feel like I need more onion-related activities in this. I'm going to have to be careful too because my experience, every time I sniffed onion, it started to make me cry. Someone's going to want to play a violin or let me know that it's game over right now. My editor is never going to get over that joke. Come on, get that text out of here. Shoo, shoo. Okay, this looks good. Like that. Well, I don't need to slice a knife anymore. Time to get back to the chef's knife. One onion down. So I feel like I need another one, and luckily I'm prepared because what I have too is another onion picked fresh from my garden. So add this with the other onion, it's going to give me the right amount that I need here, so it's not going to go to waste. Hard to believe that I picked these. They've been sitting in my pantry, but I have yet to use them until today. What is wrong with me? It should be quicker to use my veggies. There. So one of those small onions gave me just enough that I needed, and I just finished up chopping up around 4 cloves of garlic. Spanish garlic, no less, because I find that it has a nice flavor, and it's larger. Plus, depending on your style cooking, Spanish garlic can replace maybe 1.5 regular cloves of garlic, but I still went with 4 because, like we've already established, I'm Ukrainian, I love my garlic, and it's healthy for me. So between the garlic and the holy water, I should be able to repel any evil spirits that are out there, because it is getting to Halloween after all. You never know what's going to be lurking in the shadows. Now, time for the next pièce de résistance to prepare. It's my sausage. So, I've done this before with mild Italian sausages, which are okay, but the only issue with that is that you're going to be cooking that from raw when you're putting it in the pan to saute. The proper ones you need are these andouille or andouillette sausages. This is the whole reason I went to the Atwater Market, because I looked up online, and from what I was able to gather, that was like one of the few places that apparently carried this stuff. But to be fair, I didn't really know what kind of sausages I was looking for, how they were prepared. So now that I see this, I know I can look for it in any store and maybe find it closer to home. The reason that you would use andouille sausages is that these are actually pre-smoked, meaning that when you cut it up into slices, it's not going to be... Actually, it looks like it is kind of falling apart. Oh well, not the end of the world. But at least they're pre-cooked when they're smoked up, so you don't have to cook it from raw. You just have to brown them up when they're ready. But we'll get to that in a second. Creole sausages apparently have a lot of spice. It's mostly with pork, as usual. And what's this? Oh, it says the casing is made out of pork stomach. Yeah, before you go all gross on this, keep in mind that in the old days, or in some older times, sausages were cased up in pieces of stomach, I guess, for making sure that you wouldn't waste any of your resources. So it's not exactly the worst thing you can do. Nowadays I have other kind of casing that they put together for this, but still. Stomach, it's not the worst thing. Well, stomach is one of the ingredients in that, but there's a whole mess of that too. They do say it's good for what ails you. Alright, all the sausage is sliced up, put aside in this medium-sized bowl. Okay, and before I move on, I'm sure you're asking, like, how much sausage do you need? From what I see, they asked for a pound of this type of sausage. So, one pack of those was around half a pound. So you're probably going to need 2 packs of that, depending on who carries it and how much they pack it for. So that's going to get the job done. And believe it or not, that's actually only the first meat you're going to use. This is seriously intense when it comes to meat. So you have your sausage done, and then next is going to be some chicken breast. In terms of your quantity of chicken breast, you're probably going to need 2 chicken breasts of 2 good sizes. Let's see, a little bit over, close to 600 kilograms. So you're probably going to need like 1 pound of chicken breast for this. So what you're going to do with each one is you're going to, let's see, slice it. I saw this technique online of how to work the knife to slice a chicken. But I'm yet to master that. I have my own way of doing it. Probably also doesn't help is that I'm left-handed. Okay, there we go. So slice up like this. Then you're just going to cut this up into smaller, bite-sized pieces. You don't need to have very large pieces because that is going to be a lot of meat to ingest. And the idea too with this is that when you have this in smaller pieces, it's going to be much quicker to cook. You won't have to worry about it going for hours on end to cook just to get it all done well. Because again, you don't want to eat undercooked chicken. All that does is it causes salmonella, which is bad for you. There, that's the last of it. So, 2 chicken breasts, like around 1 pound worth, and you can just keep it aside. So that should be your last major prep work when it comes to getting all the food ready before you cook it. So right now I'm just going to get this all put aside, clean up, disinfect, dump all my trash, and then once we get back from the commercial break, we'll get on to the cooking. I might have the $1 million idea.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Okay, folks. So, have you ever been in a situation where you had so many cans and bottles that you had to sell, but it was too much of an effort to bring to the store because they're so copious? Or on top of that, are you afraid that if you're going to be selling those cans and bottles, are you going to look like a hippie trying to gather your nickels? Well, look no further. There is a way to be able to make this all classy and stylish in your house. I bring to you the Beer de Lire. What better way to immortalize your drinking habits than to hang it around and make it a piece of decoration in the house? All sorts of styles, all sorts of rooms, so much diversity hanging right in your ceiling while you're having supper. I feel like it needs another touch.
Say what? Money. I'm global dollar and roll with Bow 50. Like to go out smelling fresh and looking spiffy. Don't like clean money, I want my
money in the bank.
Pops with their retirement fund, I can't tell I'm 50.
And we're back. Yeah. So 2 things came to mind. 1, how the heck has nobody come up with the Beer de Lire yet? That could be like, $1 million idea. Money in the bank. Am I right? And 2, well, I lost my other train of thought. Hey, wait. We're in better quality now. Seems to be this part of the segment is going to be digitally remastered THX for the ultimate sound and picture quality. Nice touch. So, in addition to my cat meowing at me while I'm trying to cook, what you're gonna need to do to prepare all this is you're gonna get yourself one stock pot. I don't know why they call this thing a stock pot. It's like one giant pot for me. What is it, Yoshi? So with that, you're gonna get yourself 1 tablespoon of olive oil, fill it up, and then you're gonna put this to medium heat. So your first step is gonna be, once it's heated up well, is you're gonna throw your chicken breast in there along with the sausage. So there's 2 things you wanna be keeping an eye out for when you're putting this, is that your sausage is gonna be lightly browned, and that your chicken is well golden, and it's not raw any longer. Yeah, I know. So if you want to see what this guy looks like, he's probably going to hate me for this, but there. We got one big Yoshi. Come on, say something to the camera. Yeah, he's not amused. Yeah, ooh, he's kind of heavy still. I want to say he's like a good 20 pounds. So oil is heating up. We're going to wait for that to get to the right temperature, and then we're going to dump all of our meats in here. Almost all. There's still one meat we're missing. Once the oil is all heated, you can add your sausage and your chicken. And yep, good sign, it's starting to sizzle. We'll do the same thing for the chicken. I'm taking a knife here because I don't want to dirty any other utensils. This one's already dirty. There. Now we're getting some poison burden, I like to call this. Or if you're translating this to French, oiseau rimeux. I get amused about that. Tell people, nous mangeons un oiseau rimeux. That sounds pretty dirty. There. So you need about a good 5 to 7 minutes to cook this thing so that you can make sure that all the chicken is cooked thoroughly and the sausages are browned lightly. Okay, cooking this stuff up, the sausage kind of reminds me of kielbasa, which is one thing I don't think I've highlighted on the show yet, so I'm going to have to correct myself and get it done eventually. And it seemed like that the way that this thing had cooked, it's almost like the sausage rounds I had are now sausage fragments, like it kind of fell apart. Well, better falling apart than spontaneously combusting. Nobody needs that to happen. So what you want to do next is you want to take all of these meats that you've cooked up, find a clean plate. Oops, lost me chicken. Just put it on the plate, and then you're going to keep this aside until later on, because you got to get to cooking the next stuff. Almost there. Okay, that's the last of the sausage. Okay, yeah, this might be a bit messy, but you know what? It's still going to be tasty, irregardless. And people, don't tell me that irregardless is not a word. I don't care. So, your next step is you want to take 2 more tablespoons of olive oil, put that into the pan. So, 1 and 2. Luckily, because this pot is already hot, you don't have to worry about preheating it, because it's going to get hot really quick. Let's try this. There. Yeah, it's still sizzling. Now, in terms of easing up your prep work for this, the reason I put this all into one bowl is for one reason. All these things in here, like your onion, your garlic, your pepper, your jalapeno, your celery, you put it all at the same time. So why separate it when you just have to empty out the bowl's contents into here, and then you start stirring it up and sauteing it. This is going to take probably another 5 minutes. Because with this, you want to make sure that your onion in here is going to be softened up. And then once that's softened up, you get to your next ingredients. Okay, 6 minutes later, onion looks like it's cooked pretty well, so it's time to get to your next step, which is going to be the next bulk of your cooking. Hang on, just want to, there, got a better angle of this. So here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be taking 1 can of crushed tomatoes. Well, maybe not the whole can, you need about a good 14 ounces. So if you do your math, it's about 28 ounces in here, so you just need to put like half a can, then you got enough. Then your next thing is going to be some long grain rice. The recipe I saw calls for cup and a half of long grain rice. But a friend of mine that saw me cooking this noticed that it was kind of liquidy, so he suggested doing 2 cups of rice. So I'm actually going to be doing it that way again, because the fact that there's less fluids in there, it's going to be a lot more solid when you cook it. So then you're going to do that. Then next thing you're going to do is, well, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, give or take. You can probably add a little bit more if you like it really spicy too. But then in terms of spice, that's what the jalapeno is for. There. Add that in. And this thing's going to take a little bit of time to put all together. So do that. Then there's going to be 1 teaspoon of thyme. Stop the music. Stop the music. It's time. I'm not running out of time. I'm not drowning. It's where the editor is starting to have a little too much fun on my behalf, or at my expense. That's the term. So 1 teaspoon of thyme, crushed tomatoes. We got the rice. I'm gonna put next. Oh yeah, chicken stock. You're gonna need some chicken stock for this. How am I losing my train of thought now? So this will take maybe a good 3 to 4 cups, depending on how liquid you're gonna want this to be. So we'll take some of this, and make sure you get the one with low sodium in it, because you are going to be salting it. Alright. Let's see. But then, almost there, so gotta open up another one. Choty. And yep, that's Ukrainian for 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the few words I were able to retain from when I was a kid growing up. So what you gotta do then is once all that's in, stir it around, let this get to a simmer. A simmer basically means it starts to bubble without boiling. And then when it simmers, lower the heat to medium, cover it up, and then let it cook for 20 minutes. And then you can start adding the rest of your stuff afterwards. Oh no! So actually, before I do that, I forgot something else. The key thing to make this kind of Creole, besides the sausage. 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. So 1 and 2. Man, good thing I have my computer open, because otherwise I wouldn't forgive myself if I forgot the most important thing. It's, like the rug from The Big Lebowski. It really ties the room together, right? The Cajun. Oh! God dang it. Well, it's going to be 3 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. It's not the end of the world. It's still going to be edible. Man, that'll be Cajun overkill. Whatever that means. So now that I got that on the simmer, I've cut it to medium heat, put a lid on it, and then I set the timer for about 25 minutes. I won't have to stir it continuously, I just have to go back every couple of minutes to make sure that nothing sticks to the bottom. So that should be a very simple step to do. And it gives me time to prepare my last piece of meat, the shrimp. But before I do that, I am going to need a little bit of fuel. So what I'm doing now is another one that I've highlighted countless times in the past, because you all know my love of New England IPAs. I wouldn't be able to finish off the weekend without one of these. This is the St. Ambroise New England IPA. And it's distinct enough because when you look at the front, it's the only one of theirs that has a hop like that in a fire. So it's almost like a flaming fireball from Super Mario Brothers. Take care of the hops, find a fire flower, and you'll be able to shoot it at Goombas like no tomorrow. Or Hammer Brothers, because Hammer Brothers are fucking annoying. We already know that. It's still tasty as ever, just the fuel that I needed. So then, once I get to going on this, I'm gonna get preparing with my shrimp. If you want to know how much shrimp you need, you're gonna need about a good pound of shrimp. It's not gonna be the cheapest thing to get, but my suggestion is go to Costco, because you get close to 2 pounds worth for 16 bucks, so it's like great bang for your buck. The ones I get still have the tail on it, so you don't have to peel everything, because it's already been mostly peeled and deveined. You just have to pull the tail, thaw it out, get 1 pound ready, and then you're good to go. So one of the tricks that you know that you're cooking this properly is, when I first put all of this in, everything was very liquid and easy to maneuver, but now the rice is starting to absorb all the moisture in here, so it's starting to get a little bit thicker and harder to move around, so that means it's doing its job. Let's keep going with this for another less than 14 minutes and then I can add the rest of my meat. So, I've also got my shrimp thawing out in here, got 1 pound worth, but I was actually reading the package and apparently it says that if you wanted to thaw shrimp properly, you gotta keep it in the fridge overnight and then cook it. Never run it under warm water or running water, so it's like, I've been doing it wrong for years. Well, what I'm doing instead is I'm just putting in some kind of water just to make it easier. But the beauty is that I noticed that there's no tail on here now. So there's no tail, there's no shell on here, so basically I just have to let this thaw until it's very soft and then throw it all in. Man, talk about convenience. Oh, and talk about smelling like shrimp. Gotta wash up now. There we are. It's been about 25 minutes since this thing has gone off, and this jambalaya is cooking really well, and you'll be able to tell too, because at this point now, instead of all this liquid, it comes off like a giant glob of rice, veggies, and oh so goodness. You can keep it on medium heat, and then the next thing you're gonna do is add your pound of shrimp into the mixture, and then you can cover it up again. Basically, you just wanna make sure that this stuff is cooked well. And in case you've never cooked shrimp before, you just have to make sure it turns pink. Some kind of chemical reaction that, I don't know the science behind it, but that's how you know it's cooked well. And then once this thing is cooked, you add the rest of your meat and then heat it up and it should be ready to serve. I've also seen some recipes that even call for okra. I've never had it before, but someone did tell me that that stuff's kind of nasty and I don't know how to describe it, so I'm not even gonna try. But even without the okra, this is delicious. Okay, so let's get this covered again. And I'm gonna stir it occasionally too, just like before. And don't worry about that spill, that's just water from the condensation. When the heat touches a cold surface, it creates condensation, because heat has moisture. Something that you should remember too if you own a house, because it comes with insulation, vapor barriers, and okay, going off on a tangent, so let's not get into that.
Goodbye, Joe. Me gotta go. Me oh my oh. Me gotta go for the hero down the bayou. My Yvonne, sweetest one. Me oh my oh. Son of a gun, gonna have big fun on the bayou. Well, jambalaya.
Okay, shrimp is well cooked. Chicken and the sausage are all blended in together, so I think it's time that we cut the heat and start serving this son of a bitch. Oh, serve this bad boy. I don't want to be too vulgar. Just give yourself a nice, healthy serving of it in here, and then you can taste test it based on how much seasoning you think you want or how much more you want. All we're probably going to take is a little bit of salt and pepper, and you could probably dress this up with green onion sliced thinly to serve on top of it. And if you really want to be fancy, you just take a few leaves of lettuce, like romaine lettuce, put it on the bottom, then you can throw in your jambalaya. But I'm gonna say that this is one hell of a meal. So just a little over an hour later, and now our jambalaya is ready to be ingested and enjoyed. So let's find out if this is still tolerable, even with the excess Cajun seasoning I put into here. So let's taste the shrimp, and yep, it's cooked really well. Yeah, really delicious. But I'll take a little bit of rice too, and some of this looks like a piece of sausage to find out what it's like. Yeah, really lovely. And ooh, I think the seasoning is finally starting to get to me. So if any of you have colds or you're feeling ingested, you could do chicken soup because that's like a good natural remedy, but you could also do jambalaya because that's going to clear you up. That'll clear up your sinuses and it'll cure what ails you, almost as good as haggis. And I do have to admit, the texture of this andouille sausage, it kind of reminds me of kielbasa or kielbasa, depending on where you're from and how you pronounce it. So I'm quite satisfied. And again, we're going to have to get some kielbasa to highlight on this channel eventually too. So I'm just going to enjoy this, enjoy my brew, and I'm going to make sure that my makeshift holy water is over here in case demons want to possess me along the way. So, on that note, thanks for watching this next edition of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. So, as usual, if you like what you see, you can always hit that subscribe button below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy my recipes and my banter in between preparing the recipe. Leave a comment or a suggestion and keep spreading my bad jokes, aka my cheese. Everybody loves cheese. Almost everybody, I'm sure. Good night, everyone.